Oh, I couldn't even see you, sorry. I was totally hidden. I was literally like, where are we getting? Okay. Alright, cool. Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Legit, I'm not even kidding. Like, I have the opposite problem. Like, people see my Harvard dash and think I'm an actual dash. So. Alright, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Advantage when stagnation, high unemployment, low confidence in years, recovery makes low goals inevitable, page 24. Recent data showed unemployment rate, sugar time, rural high story, looks over recession, risking e-com, sub sugar time, recession, return his slowdown, financial condition by business, consumers, under by confidence, business gunshots, will make it safe and hands and spend money, public, spending, issue, recession, stagnating wages, in low productivity sector, low slow growth, labor efficiency, escape, on terror, employment, 22, polarization, high wage, high productivity, low productivity, low wage, stagnation, basis of inequality, tightness of labor market results of restriction, wages are falling like the generating percentage demand has prominent role in determining growth of resources induced stagnation by higher wages, contribute to slow down, distinct labor and high productivity, hard charge workers, wages, crucial rehiring firms, certification, organization, needs, living wage, creates resilient workforce, profit, as 22, living wage, low turnover, kids, uniform, decent standard of living, more and better skills, promoted workforce, motivated, productive workers, productivity, commitment, guaranteed economic security, health, productivity, productivity, and loyalty, integral to responsible sourcing, performance while reducing costs of managing labor issues, offering safety by reducing managing issue for lower wages, academic consensus shows wage increases, improve productivity, consumer spending is good. Proposition 24, increase in wage would benefit beyond affected workers, increase community activity, local business wages, local workers, efficiently lower subsidy, workers, reduce inequality, unleash period, economic, a period of recovery phasing mode, we by 2025, generate up to 7 million every extra dollar going to low wage work around 2021 out to overall consensus research, raising wage employee for your people, average states that rate wages, add jobs at a faster rate, tax wages, over 152 billion, and progress for low wage workers, low wages, called unemployment, studies prove that the plan reduces actual vacancies, rise in all 23, increase wages, increase unemployment, we prioritize the variance employment effects, increase the cost of labor, results in employment, income, one to stop the reality, many low wage labor markets, employers face less vigorous competition, and therefore paid workers considerably less lower wages, cause employers to quit and have large unfilled job vacancies, higher wages, increase number of filled jobs, raise employment rates among low wage workers, creating more equitable U.S. labor markets, secondly, stagnation, the crisis, populism, proliferation, multipolarity, nuclear war, option number 21, U.S. power decline, populism, undermine liberal institutions, the stagnation, increase the likelihood of liberal multipolarity, and nationally define our future populism as the effective low growth, making it alien difficult to resuscitate politics, polarized collaboration, toxic hedge, unavailable institutions, pick up algorithms, lost rivals and allies, reduce interdependence, enable World War III, hotspots, Korean, SES, Taiwan, multipolarity, intel, uncertainty, escalation, escalation of preventable wars, states are always on edge, educating worst case scenario, institutions decline, conflict, expand, governance, legitimacy, conflict, unipolarity, multipolarity, hazardous, existing powers, technologies, the primacy, conflict between U.S. and China, conflict now proliferate, expand, and supply of nukes increases, transfer of weapons to NSA's clearance, effort of widening distribution of power away from the unipolarity is narrowing government GDP, 1.3 trillion increase from China, most useful critical power for the economy states, extract power, main market, free power, reduce multipolarity, low growth, wage stagnation, widening inequality, stretch that democratic system, populism, go nuclear, mayor, bullet 21, populist, responsibility of nukes, make sure high decision not bode well to heal international order, populist, committed only to their own power, populist, and nuke states on the rise, bandwagoning risk charity because populist by national interest of alliance, less likely to override some nuke issues, populist renew order, existential nuclear proliferation, cause extinction, coronavirus 15, more imposition of nukes, greater probability, nuke war before mad, and nuke states go through transition, they like a second strike, and has the incentive to use the crazy, use of precious leaders, initiate, and aggressive backline, victory, safety, increase, risk, to force a less resolve arbitrary to backdown, many conflicts, future crisis, result in a devastating nuclear exchange, spread increases the risk of nuclear terrorism, nuclear vulnerability, regional instability states, and any crisis result in a nuke exchange, one size fits all model, causes rapid inequality and unemployment, and number 23, a minimum impact business is much more than that of use did not require this business to adjust to our economy when minimum its wage causes unemployment because all the wages expenses are increases and they cut the lowest wage workers. Inequality makes everything essential risk inevitable by collapsing institutions. Peninsula 24, climate polarization, inequality increases economy existential beyond climate itself, whether fight for resources, the refugees lead conflict, inequality worsen, institutional quality, disaster preparedness, education, health, foreign policy, science, increase existential risk, protection, work, collective accident, institution, inequality, lead to elite, capture, gear, truth, elite, less investment, good back conditions, increasing nuclear war engineered, virus, misaligned AI, cyber, polarization, living units, tracked by domestic inequality, populist candidates, low inequality, expanding more, so the future chance, smart humans, intelligence, ability to jobs, too late. That's the United States also requires that workers receive living wage, and it chooses international law, the U.S. violates the right to a living wage, recognizing international human rights law, and all 23, the U.S. has long line behind Abolition counterparts to guarantee the right to workers use obviously the lowest wages, real wages, decline U.S. desperately needs to increase the wage to protect workers whose rights violate or allegations of constitute violations of our HRR recognizing the right to a living wage. There is an obligation to assure the right to a living wage. Article 15 states to collect respect collective agreements and favorable conditions of work to ensure they do not discriminate the right to the government. They should respect the right to a living wage. Application is of particular importance for labor rights. Includes an obligation to legislate minimum wages to protect workers from exploitation. Article 7 ensure remuneration provides workers decent living. This includes obligation of the contract to require states to achieve full realization of the right to work or failure to assure obligations constitute violation of the government and when wage shall be instances not the states do not violate Article 7. Reviolating worker rights of climate change and pandemics rate all 21. For workers and pandemics and inequality are combating in real time conditions today, which 100 years ago I allowed change to contribute to worker rights future were just effective challenges for societal transformation into China. Our climate and inequality worker rights to be central to addressing crimes and ensure greater protection of workers. American remuneration of wage rights restores human rights leadership. You would all 09 predicted rights appropriate wages linked directly to rights to life. So yeah, economic rights, primary provisions with UN obligation to provide the legally binding charter necessary to elaborate on the concepts of rights modeled by the domestic of rights modeled on domestic standards of the U.S. U.S. policies to the implementation of economic rights is crucial on the international stage. Next, human rights leadership creates cooperative frameworks to solve disease, authoritarianism, climate. Code 20 uses legally bound to obey all HR obligations by downgrade the role of HR, rejected cooperation, rule of law, use indispensable rules of value to system global to organize ambition, multilateral attacks with power, ignore violation of HR and other consistent HR, U.S. leadership risk, global defense, pandemics, exacerbating inequalities, bearing rise of authoritarianism, perpetuate climate, pandemic overreaction, trigger nuclear wars. 21 pandemics exacerbate conflicts, pandemics spread with unprecedented speed, news cause nuclear starvation, the human species, crisis, prompt aggressive actions, destabilize systems, weaponized, come about, attack risk of WD, reach sharply incapacitating commanders, leadership strike orders, brief after for first strike orders, shut down, main proliferate, reinforced violent conflicts, nuclear war, totalitarian overthrow goes existential battlefield. 23 totalitarian states, for 16 battlefields dealing with disaster, more likely to have nuclear wars, miscalc, might be a problem due to personal agenda, disincentives for accurate info, makes extinction likely by reason, chances of WMDs, and totalitarians are less cooperative, lacking transparency, limits agreements for pandemics, climate change, inequality, offensive power, AR about we should be concerned about unlocking in the future text of the ADI space settlement or surveillance or measures to guide the totalitarian world and extend the risk of extinction as well as authority of the human trajectory which then a destruction of human potential time and is experienced. Brands Beckley 22 ICCB wants regained territories lost earlier during the internal upheaval of foreign aggression to Hong Kong, reincorporated Taiwan, brought back Afghan border disputes with Japan, with India and Japan claiming 90% of the SES to create SOI in which China supreme U.S. pushed to margin CCP and vision to the attracting origin to ensure economics. U.S. No longer has alliances military influence to create problems. Next, the standard is consistent with hedonic utilitarianism, extension outweighs under any firm of wall uncertainty of future death. Power 15, reducing existential risk of the most of their trillion and the future of future people, even if the well-being were even 0.1% weight, non-press comes much into the latter doesn't matter immediately. Multiple version of chaos.
Cross-sex?
Yep.
Okay. I-law. There are so many different things we violate: right to health, right to housing, so many other rights we violate. Why is living wage key?
Yeah, living wage is key to right to health, is key to right to housing. If people don't have a living wage, then they aren't able to get a house, they aren't able to pay for things like Medicare and Medicaid, they aren't able to get food, water, shelter, all those things.
Okay, so there's obviously things the US does, i.e. Guantanamo Bay, us like funding Israel and that causing genocide there, or other violations that we're doing globally. How does the living wage solve any of those?
Yeah, Suhu gives a pretty good example of how wages in the domestic realm solve for human rights leadership, because the U.S. Modeling, like countries when they're looking at U.S. human rights leadership, they look at what the U.S. is doing.
I'd actually like to talk about that. The stuff you're talking about modeling, the next sentence, it's talking about in the context of what FDR and Eleanor Roosevelt did and what Truman did. How's that at all relevant to what's happening today when we're seeing like the US versus other organizations like BRICS or other organizations? Why would those like somehow listen to the US?
Well, yeah, this is just an example. It says that like Truman along with Eleanor Roosevelt were key players in regard to the inclusion of economic and social rights. This is an example of what you can do. It's, I guess, like empirics for the affirmative, because it means that we're able to do things like that.
Okay, sure. Secular stagnation, the living wage, productivity. How would increasing wages cause people to be productive? Why wouldn't corporations just do things like cut hours to maintain profits?
Yeah, sure. A couple of reasons. The first one is that they would not be incentivized to cut hours because the work that people are doing is more productive. A couple of reasons for that. It would make it so that they have better health. They're more loyal to the company that they're working for. They're decreased absenteeism, lower turnover, have more skills.
That seems to be something like very long term. Obviously, corporations freak out when profits decline, proven by what lots of large corporations have done recently. If the plan is an instant $15 at least minimum wage, why would corporations not react aggressively like they've done in the past?
Yeah, I think that like maybe a couple of reasons that it would be instant would be that not only like will they see like the data is trending upwards because it is like a trajectory, but also the Reich and our Reich and Henwood cards say specifically that giving a living wage would make it so that one, the federal minimum would be abolished, which would make it so that areas with lower cost of living would immediately take on more workers, and the other one is the Reich card, which says that monopsony markets would immediately break because they would be forced to fill unfilled vacancies.
Co-card on Advantage 2. Obviously, human rights leadership, like why does human rights leadership stop disease? Like we need things like lockdowns or other things in order to stop disease. How does human rights leadership create cooperation or anything to solve disease?
Yeah, sure. I think it specifically says that it advances rule of law. Currently, there are a lot of, like, I guess, disparate ideas of how we should handle things like climate change and pandemics. What the plan would do, it would make it so that the U.S. soft power is able to influence things like, I guess, like how other countries act in a time of crisis, such as climate change and pandemics, and I guess, like, unite them into a way where they could act unilaterally together to, I guess, fight like a crisis.
Okay, that makes sense. That's cross. I'll send it out. It's going to be.
What was the last thing you read?
Oh, sorry. It's the extinction card, and then I cut it at Dayont. Palmer 15.
Dayont. Okay, yeah. It's going to be 5 off. Stagnation. I-law.
Okay. Can I look at my sheet before you send?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll just add it to this page.
Okay, let me download. Okay, I should be good.
All three judges good?
Yep. What's your order?
5 off, stagnation, Iowa. And Asia, you're good? Great. Okay. First off, inflation. The inflation is cooling but fragile. Recovered 24. Inflation dropped the lowest one since 3 years ago, adding to encouraging news prices showed 2.4% September response to February 2021. Things are gradually. Now there's going to be volatile and former Fed inflation. It's only easy to target even if uneven Fed with running cutting rate in November and December. The Fed hates the plan and wage rate is inflation and GO23 is strong. Wage gains real inflation. Officials pay attention to wages because growth will make it hard to bring inflation down. Policy we want them to be consistent with 2%. So that is inflation because operating costs will be higher and employers not feel ready to raise prices for services compensations. Major costs lower. Cool demand federally wage rate. It's a signal of overall inflation making it important to watch how the inflation rates. The best empirical and theoretical models prove pass-throughs massive. Virtuous 24 for minimum wage are estimated implied pass-through 171.6% well above complete cost pass-through for demand competition. Inches of minimum wage are shifted into retail prices are estimates higher than American Leon, but neither account for competition empirical minimum wage and account for market power demand curve. The first, you consider how pass-through differs across different experiences with inflation finding series feedback effects are export uncertainty and advantage passing their strong theoretical and empirical basis are application more important as minimum wages are primary to address issues of inequality. The plan plus inflation in key industries that leads to high what key of data systems the relation between wage price and inflation and restaurant demand last year takes time to respond to seek restaurant just prices actual inflation report for federal restaurant pricing competitive CPI any trends affect overall inflation federal have to respond to her policy the plan big triggers a wage price fall even if initial inflation is small increases are cycle pivoted but key downward wage increase precipitated inflation shut the correlation measure for lives after rising wage pricing up killer if wage price fall every 0.1% increase in inflation that causes more than 1% loss in output already when you reduce inflation by 0.1 points policy needs to contact 1% output trade off disaster in current situation even tighter policy to maintain cost spread cost inflation large inflation applies adverse trade-offs across the large effect increasing more tightening needed. Fiscal miscalibration decimates markets that guarantees it seeks escalating global trade boxes and root societal adaptation could overshock 24 weaknesses that require small shock to pass results all the region applied customers by economy inflation heights miscalibration balance you go optimistic and aggregative central trade off this solution Ukraine is will trauma on possible it's good version news party also power step in escalation and to stop supply chain draw need to possible to start to feel confident carbon should feed power back inflation waiting go to her 17 shots with calibration by being secret receipt come to 200 the biotech AI cyber high rates to store tech innovation in every sector classes for high rates to store investing in tech to sell innovation level regard aggregate IPV CR and D and paying for every 1% rise in rate R&D PC fell 25% paying decline 9% lower while decrease CFP reduce aggregate demand less profitable pay less incentive develop new products stop investor appetite for risk taking reduce financing rates for venture fell 30% decline in chronology safety pennies for important tech and cloud can be affected by rates tech innovation solves great power works made when people to innovate in current outcome and competition between US and China US remains in the China has got the airport advantage of present loans of interest rates and battle innovation underlies military power tech dominance return capabilities tech soft power attractive targets from across the globe control China invests $10 billion to protect by semiconductor China has led vicious flying given how militaries flying to control infrastructure great power war strike who is cyber strike US cyber defense and need response strike market card at time next off the United States should increase the minimum wage to $25 an hour adjusting based on localities and inflation and legislative living wage gorillas the OSHA unraveling authority to pandemic lockdowns rate into return to even system enacted lockdowns recognize rights with the right to earn a living is not one right on especially state constitution right to earn a living is the unenumerated where it should be permitted to regulate business and rule of reason like in regulations prior saying the constitution right lockdown failures unravel the global economy in the face of inevitable pandemic rifle prematurely opening businesses work for growth the social justice measure the virus not contain customer future shock greater economic damage social justice say this transfer to $8 trillion more than a third of GDP in the United States every investor 21 rule our present independent judiciary and large warm moving Congress have to have lead station there must be renewable to combat big corruption necessary and its impose judiciary through checks and balances next up the 1AC foundation of linear Newtonian economic models ensures failure adopting an alternative relation model is said P00 Newtonian subject no non-miliarities policy planning tiny uncertainty increase exponentially butterfly effect dominate system no single policy means policies new field demanded policymakers drive model attempt to fluctuation move to uncontrolled oscillation data from the Fed transition from study attention crisis computer models right effort complex absurd simplistic plans covering ecosystem call for conference fight any plan encounter contents outside just main solving traditional ways causing new problems skip the next card and then skip the next off advantage the United States should guarantee a right to housing invoke Leahy's law on the implement the NLRA to increase the ability of workers to organize and publicly recognize and guarantee the right to organize the freedom of association expand immigrant rights the right to reproductive health and the right to equal protection for discrimination while prohibiting torturous punishments and inhumane treatment in prisons, implement a negative income tax, R3, substantially increase economic activity in space, housing, cement CIL for Sarah all forward, and assuming treaty protecting housing, the ISR, maybe consider customary and thus body, leaky salt laws, salts, I lot, if we kick it, it's an all cost apples, when for use effort to shield yourself for a track further than any country, rights or women's violence, how you tell under rights to use literature, moral authority, and the international fear, NLRA assaults worker rights and US human rights literature broadly, inserting 1AC McDowell, telling Yankee Downey 23, playing for assaults American credibility by putting us in line with every other international human rights obligation we have, all custom to the case, insert 1AC Code 20, NIT, assault writer, encourage to work and avoid CDRC, work he racism in a way to raise and employment, to storage optimal for purpose to store work, that's why NIT and basic part of the missing code of bureaucracy of benefit rules combined with cash reform necessity between income sales and welfare for Peninsula 69, it's work by basing it 100% poverty threshold amount of money to people, shelter and NIT pay every month could be deposited directly for their service work energy, rate adjusted down could replace welfare, the status quo is always now check for some better arthritis is in need, planky warrants or cap good 1 year, also the key source applies to otherwise 1 year restrictions indicating the pulse returns, MCT makes you level on stagnation or growth is surging, and every indicator listed in their evidence groups, USC, Act 27, inflation fell, economic stability, boosted by strong, second invest unemployment fell, production rebounded, consumer sentiment rose, the unemployment indicator relies on SOMS rule, inserted 1 CPG 24, it's wrong this time, it posted PG, we can entire, 829% out this time rule, this time recession, W utility going to flash after the data positive, GDP simply stronger protects our growth in the period economy, agile playoff, modest, even soft disagrees that says rate hikes turn the case, make entire, 829 signs the signs of recession, not for ordained for your hikes, anything controlled there's a reason unemployment entry higher for Harney, and sees any concludes that anyone to see impact is not for decades, inserting and plan decrease of compensation to lower hours and benefits U21 study, additionally also impact minimum wage for every increase average hours decrease med compensation for affirms, measure practices to reduce workers benefits less consists casual make it simply partnership financial stability decreases in $1 increase wages lose 11.6% of compensation productivity increase are wrong because of time period our links are needed and are based off of near-term perception tech investments and increased worker productivity occurs over the course of years cycle stagnation is harmful harmless and globally inevitable while rather going to slow down so to be face falling fertility and impact as human capital receded so did growth drop driven by the expanded college profession to women efficient and producing goods as a consequence of success. Their author says that stagnation is caused by multiple other things which they can't stop inserting and Oppenheimer's writing about 4 forces not just stagnation and said it's not by other factors would be the plan cannot swallow. Schmidt includes that global inequalities also are cause which is inserted and newly captured impact quality governments ineffective addressing climate as well as pollution by nuclear waste qualifies to financial insecurity inequality debt migration terror citizens are frustrated with poor purposes dominated by partisan red secret attack unresponsive press failed to translate to policy the EIT argument now international law advantage the EIT argument and card concedes all causes which are inserted Subaru's about FDR situation and lists all causes that they cannot solve for also caused by all causes from the counterplan disease and cause war post and 20 worship characteristics of optimism peace or customism disease we can all priority equivalent evidence source of war go down solidly confirm find pandemics causing war sickness war depends on people and ill can perform in combat most generous probability estimate for pandemics is 0.02% in the next century inserting chart Millet Insider BD17 populism and societal instability are considered Wayland 24 analysis highlights possibility not probability because there are a whole set of possibilities 40 government 7 authoritarian war stock and less common popularism commence right institutional checks and balances for opposition levels most populous failed and by checks were done by half percent distinction before damage and also none of the co-evidence says why any of the cause extinction the laundry list is unwarranted and we get neutral in our responses.
Upper cross.
Yeah.
Okay. Independent reasons drop the change.
No.
Okay. Status counterpoint.
Status quo is always an option. It's condo and judge kick.
Okay. I guess like can kick individual planks.
Yes.
Okay. I guess like starting with the K. You only read like the first card.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess like why would there be like Newtonian economic models?
Sure.
No, I mean like absent the F. If you get rid of the F, why would there still be Newtonian economic models?
Well, the alternative is it's a question of research. Your research.
Wait, but you didn't read the alternative.
The alternative is to adopt an alternative relational model. That's P. Like the second card's an impact card, but our P card serves its turns case and it has some impact.
Okay,
the second card's just extra.
Okay, that's fine. I guess inflation. We just came off the highest period of inflation, like over like the past 4 years, and we've only recently been starting to cool down. Why?
Sure.
Why would that not be like fiscal miscalibration?
Sure. Fiscal miscalibration didn't occur because the Fed did not overreact. It corrected over time as inflation increased. The Fed reacted equal to it. However, the plan would cause such a high wage increase that the Fed would have no choice but to overreact, which is what triggers fiscal miscalibration. Second, COVID does not dump argument. It sets the stage for our argument.
Yeah.
Inflation.
Okay. Yeah.
Russian
That makes a lot of
Ukraine.
sense.
China continued encroaching over Taiwan.
Counter plan. I guess like.
Which one? Advantage or?
Oh, the $25 one.
Yeah.
The minimum wage. I guess like what's the net benefit?
The disad. Living wage as a frame and the right to living is bad. It violates the decision made by the Supreme Court when Mississippi's case means that we can't have pandemic lockdowns, turns economy and turns pandemic.
Okay, how would a $25 minimum wage avoid this?
Because it doesn't do a living wage. The comp plan is a pick out of living wage. It fiats that we're doing $25 an hour and adjusting to the cost of living.
Okay, how does like OSHA result in like lockdown failure?
Sure. our Rampo 20, or actually the Straya and Surma 22 evidence says that if the right to earn a living is part of the Constitution, which the act does because it fiats a right to living through a living wage, then OSHA would not be permitted to regulate the business because employees need to have the right to earn a living. So they would be forced to go in person, for instance, lockdowns. And this is because the reason why the court ruled with Mississippi is because there was no right to living, so the employees didn't have a right to go to work.
Wait, okay, so like, actually, wait, could you just like repeat, like, wait, you read the DA, right?
Yeah, I read the DA, I read the first off, the only off I skipped was con.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I guess like, can you just like repeat the links? Like, why is like living wage derailing?
Sure. Straya and Surma at the end says the court's decision centered on this premise: if there was a right to living in the Constitution, lockdowns would be illegal because they prevent employees from being able to earn money through work.
Wait, why would a living wage prevent like employees from earning like money from work?
Wait, no, it's not a living wage prevents employees. It's that a living wage requires employees to be able to earn a living. It guarantees a right to living, which means that it would reverse the court's decision and make that unconstitutional. Therefore, it means that lockdowns are not permitted. OSHA cannot enforce them because the right to living mandates that employees are able to work.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take that. Okay, I'm prep. 20 seconds left. I'll send out.
What's the order?
Yeah. Order is going to be the minimum wage kind of plan with like the with the net benefit, the advantage kind of plan. Oh, sorry, case on top. Yeah. Case on top of all that. Advantage 1, advantage 2, minimum wage kind of plan, advantage kind of plan, the critique, and then inflation.
Is this doc your app and the rebuttal at the bottom? Something?
Oh, it starts at like the block called AR. Sorry, my app is on the top.
You're good, yeah, I thought you called that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Got it, yeah.
Got it? Okay.
I'm all set
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Oh,
Can I sit over there?
oh, thank you so much. Cool.
What page of awareness on?
Oh, stagnation.
Wait, advantage comes in before the K? Like, is it just the same order in the doc?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. It's minimum wage kind of plan,
Yeah.
advantage kind of plan, the K,
Yeah.
inflation.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They've dropped the pill of conflict siege by proliferators wanting to do nuclear brinkmanship, nuclear transfer, terrorism, the breakdown of MAD, no new defense in the 2 and our stagnation growth doesn't growth surge. No, not it isn't surging right now because of low unemployment from things like monopsony markets and also low productivity and low health. SAM rule obviously not true. It doesn't rely on the SAM rule, but it is true because all indicators are blinking red, which they can see from the SAM rule because of low unemployment, which is happening in the which is happening by the Fed's best indicators. Post-date PG doesn't matter because PG assumes this and says that it's gonna nosedive anyways because of low indicators. Some disagrees. Doesn't it doesn't matter because other reasons besides that means that it's going to inevitably decline. The one to see impacts is not that because currently U.S. and China are in a deadlock right now, uniquely because of nuclear nuclear competition, which is unique to right now. Productivity increases, not true because of time frame. No, it increases immediately because the businesses know that they're instantly going to trend up globally. Inevitable, not true because not true because inequality in the U.S. is key to cooperation. Are the things that we said. All causes doesn't matter. Schmidt. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll concede that inequality has no impact. ILA will concede all causes. Minimum wage kind of thing. Mixed into that benefit, cancel pandemics, indexing is not key to violate articles and cancel employment. Henwood said that it would decrease small business employment, low cost of area due to no indexing and also can and also. No link because it doesn't even say living wage. It's not about wages. It's about the right to living, to right to earn a living, which is not about that. And it's done by Mississippiana. Also, it's not about the rule of law, and we solve for the rule of law better because of HR. There's no extinction impact. Whatever. Cancel off advantage 2. This is advantage kind of plan. Cancel off advantage 2. Cancel worker movements labor. Law compliance in the ILO. Skip that. Perm due firm did kind of plan leaves and not benefit inflation. It increases spending up and it's perceived as socialist policy. Cancel productivity. Redistributing income doesn't solve because it's not from the employer. Living wage is key to build trust, increase retention, and decrease absenteeism. Thus, Robert in space doesn't solve stagnation because productivity is key to a wage. Breaking monopsony markets. Monopsony markets are true from the stagnation page because they dropped that they are economists don't assume that they are, but they are because they are increasing more now because businesses are less competitive. That was cross apply that to the case page. Onto the K framework, weigh the app, and they need links to the plan. Anything else is non-resolutional, which nukes fairness and clash. About ways, extinction, Purdue both soft links and double bind, and the all fails. Can't spell up means Newtonian economics means that they're inevitable. Inflation. No link. The living wage would be implemented by increasing taxes on the wealthy and tax credits will solve for inflationary shocks. That's Henwood. And no link. The plan would lower wages and states with low cost of living. That's also a headwind. And the last 4 years, since inflation being high for 4 decades means that and the Fed hikes rates rapidly and drawing it all 24. Inflation surge after COVID-19 and 4 decades labor shortages contributed to wage growth increase significantly remain pre-pandemic average raising concern wage pressure on wages don't cause inflation proper markets do. Story 23. Empirical evidence shows that increases overall caused by markets have been the main driver of inflation higher. It was accounts on wage pressure over the markets for reasons have living in inflation over the past few years. Right now, got really a surge in demand does not hold wages that going the effects on the majority of U.S. households. Consumption demand, of course, did not increase and did not cause inflation. Going back on to stagnation, there is no all causes to stagnation because they specifically conceded that economic decreases are outweighed by all of these. They do say aging, they do say all of these, but it says specifically at the top and the bottom of the article that stagnation is the root cause of all of these and is the reason why illiberal globalization was spread. It's not about 4 forces. Top and the bottom of the article again. States stop and cancel the case over Act 24. Act 25 states are boosting their minimum wage with a baseline payment up to $16 an hour. A massive database of past episodes just proved sustained acceleration. Velocity L22, indicators of wage price as a small minority followed by sustained acceleration. Now wage price destroyed lived inflation and wage growth stabilized falling. Wage price leaving the wage growth that broadly unchanged. Use empirical realities of Velocity L22. This unit acceleration hard to find today. Nominal wages count to inflation point take away from historical analysis and acceleration of wages is not assigned. Wage price model historically suggests wages accelerate inflation receives the effect is small challenging this thing, which is substantially smaller than reported. Essentially, the elasticity of prices fall short of weight and low wage market the firstly competitive increase observe our effect of interpolation. Wishart is a global risk study that concedes inflation is the low range risk impacts are inevitable. Insert want to see Wishart et al. 24 and right, everything from inflation applies. The most generous reading of their negative evidence assumes that the Fed looked at data, not vibes. So many rate hikes times while 16, 10 because of good rate hikes and 14 months wage price problem. Beginning out of wage growth at the Fed. I noticed that wage have gained little effects on inflationary cycle. I don't want to jump to government recession means that tech innovation is impossible and use new accounting models. Actually, that's fine. Perfcon means that there's no impact.
Okay, 4 months.
Cool.
No theory arguments, right?
No.
it's going to be inflation dA, the complexity K, the rule of law dA, the advantage counterplan, stagnation.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. Inflation dA, the complexity K, rule of law dA, advantage counterplan, stagnation.
Okay.
Okay, are we really good? Okay. Inflation, not going for it. I'll concede that the rate hikes are dumb and that we're sharp behind like proves that inflation and fiscal miscalibration is not an existential crisis complexity. Okay, I'm not going for it. I'll concede plain focus. And they said there was no offense, which means the perf is not an independent voting issue. It was also not flagged. It's rejected. Constitution DA. Look, this dissat is not perfect, but it was functionally dropped, and a pick that solves the case was also conceded. They conceded the rule of law impact. They dropped that rule of law is necessary to ensure that the judiciary and the government can solve for things like corruption. This is the only card in the debate that says the word extinction once. Dropped that that's necessary to solve a litany of existential crises. Global warming, pandemics, wars with Russia, China, etc. are all warranted in our impact evidence. All of it was dropped. A completely conceded impact and link that was mishandled means a risk that the pick solves the case, along with sufficient defense in case means it certainly outweighs. They also dropped that failure to ensure lockdowns turns the case. They've conceded that absent lockdowns, economic collapse occurs because more people get diseases and more people will go to reopen the economy fast. That causes instant collapse of the economy, which is completely conceded. Straight turn stagnation because obviously if everybody has diseases, there's no possibility for people to work, to be productive, and to do things that ensure that demand is stagnate. They've also conceded from that also straight turns any pro-lift for China war offense. The 2-hour goes for it. Think about the 2-hour goes for it. Think about what happened after COVID. Our economy tanked. Inflation was extremely high and it was a mess. That's exactly what's going to happen if we don't have more lockdowns, because lockdowns are the only thing that protects us from the disease, staying for thousands of days and several years. First, links to that benefit. It does not. Remember, the counterplan text and our links are all about the right to living and the living wage being bad. The counterplan text fiats an increase in the minimum wage, which are two distinct policies. They say which are two distinct policies. I'll explain the link later, which would upgrade this. They say the plan needs to be indexed. This is wrong. Remember, the counterplan text fiats that it is indexed. The minimum wage would be indexed to localities and adjust with the cost of living. The only thing that we don't do is guarantee a living wage, because the frame of living wage violates the Supreme Court's decision in the Mississippi rule, which enabled OSHA to implement lockdowns. That was the drop link. They say that's no link because it's about the right to earn. Remember, our card is explicit. The right to earn a living is what our card says is bad, because it overturns the decision, and you should use sufficiency framing for this, because you know that courts misinterpret things all the time. So a living wage and a right to earn a living would be functionally distinct to them, especially when it's a high stakes court case, and especially when there's so many Republican members of the Supreme Court that they'd be willing to jump the gun on any risk that they can end lockdowns because they all oppose them. They say it can't solve HR, they kick the advantage, they say that there's no extinction. They drop both of our impacts. Our rampant evidence says that it collapses the economy, which they agree is an existential threat because it prevents us from being able to adjust stagnation. And they also drop Bessler, which says that corruption is the primary driver of every existential threat, which cumulatively outweighs on probability because it is the key to stopping things like stagnation, stopping things like slow growth, etc. You should filter all of this debate through the fact that there is no deficit to the pig. They will inevitably go for a no link to the dissat, but remember, their only deficit is that living wage needs to be adjusted with localities to solve the advantage. A, they have not tied that to any impact in the 1C. B, they have dropped that the counterplan is indexed to localities, because the text of the counterplan, if you read it, it was read in the doc, in the 1C, and it's in the doc fiats that it's adjusted based on localities and with the cost of living. There's no deficit. They cannot win this debate. I'll go for advantage counterplan. I'm only going for the NIT counterplan. Do both links obviously would link to the rule of law DA, which I explained above. The NIT is distinct because the NIT is distinct. Doesn't guarantee a right to earn a living. Do counterplan suffers the act, which is a voting issue because it makes being impossible. Now, remember, they've dropped the NIT. They have dropped the NIT counterplan. Solves all the case because it gives everybody money. Solves stagnation because it results in people spending more to the economy, which is more in the economy, which is the primary factor in determining things. Which is the primary factor in determining whether or not stagnation exists, because secular stagnation is the absence of demand increasing revenue and granting everybody a UBI through the NIT would be sufficient because it means that more people spend money, which is vital to demand. They say links to inflation. Conceded that there's conceded no impact on inflation, which is valid, and NIT is not inflationary because they dropped it. We take the money from the wealthy and give it to the poor, which is how it's just a version of a UBI that is not inflationary as per our RC evidence. That last argument they said is that people need to know corporations care about them. A, the counterplan stalls because it would be the wealthy giving their money to the poor. That would obviously include things like corporations. And B, will zero productivity later. They have no explanation for why this is key to stagnation. Obviously, demand is a much higher factor, and the pick should be sufficient to solve case. Stagnation. Prolif is irrelevant because we'll win terminal defense later. Islam should frame this debate. There's no uniqueness for anything. The Petri evidence only cites the Islam rule to say that stagnation is occurring now. It is wrong because this time there are every other factor is showing positive. Just because Islam is saying that it's negative and the rule is saying that it's negative does not mean that it's the case. They also dropped that Islam disagrees. She disagrees because there's no risk of a recession. She agrees that her rule was wrong in this case and that all the other data like unemployment, jobs, etc. flow negative. Now they say they dropped the real growth is thumped because real growth has increased and will continue to increase in the future. Takes out stagnation because it would increase demand. They also dropped a case and conceded that the plan would decrease compensation and benefits. The U card is specific. It cites the most amount of examples. It's a meta study. It would say that people would lose their access to Medicare, Social Security, etc., which is a case that was dropped. Flip stagnation because people would not want demand. They would trust their companies less because companies would cut benefits and cut their hours. Means the plan is not worse than status quo and decreases demand, which is vital to solving all the case. Now, productivity turn is irrelevant because they've not implicated this as to why this is specifically necessary to secular stagnation. They've also conceded that secular stagnation is harmless and global and is inevitable globally. Remember, their impact card and political cards are about other countries viewing the U.S. as weak and then going to war. Other countries will also be weak, i.e. China and Russia, because they're going through the same fertility crisis. There's no way for that to solve because fertility collapse is inevitable globally, proven by other countries like Japan. Look, the pig solves case. The one deficit they made was solved by the counterplan's tax. The risk of the DA massively outweighs. It's game over.
Okay. Sick. Starting my 20 seconds of prep. I know it's a lot. Cool. Oh, actually, no, not yet. Right, yeah.
Could you do the word, sorry?
Oh yeah, no problem. Order is going to be stagnation, NIT, and then minimum wage counterplan.
Stagnation,
Actually, stagnation, minimum wage counterplan, and then NIT.
Gotcha.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry, repeat. Stagnation.
Oh yeah, stagnation, minimum wage counterplan, and then the advantage counterplan. Okay. Is anyone not ready? Cool. They drop Prolif, which means it's basically game over. Prolif causes extinction, nuclear brinkmanship by new proliferators, disrupts MAD and NFU, it creates terrorist nuclear trade, and inevitably breaks down the nuclear order. Stagnation reassures allies to not proliferate, which solves for a nuclear breakdown. It causes every other impact. It decreases rule of law. It makes it so that we go on lockdown because we're not able to do things in international agreements, and our lawyers disagree with each other, which makes it so that that happens inevitably. And it's fast because allies are detaching at each other's necks right now because we are not giving them the nuclear umbrella that we deserve, which means that it automatically outweighs. Stagnation. They say the Islam rule is wrong for other factors. They never mention another factor in their 2-hour, which means that obviously there are no warrants to say we didn't. Even if the Psalm author disagrees with their argument that warrants for why the Psalm rule is true or it drops, which is that unemployment makes it that it's inevitably going to decrease because the rate at which growth is increasing is inevitably going to fall and nosedive in the future. They drop that benefits. There's no reason why this turned. They have dropped that productivity. It massively outweighs because even if this is one small cause, that productivity that they have conceded, which is health, absenteeism, loyalty, decreasing skill matching, all of those are reasons for why this automatically outweighs. It's not about, and also our stagnation advantage is about wage stagnation, not about benefit stagnation. There's, and plus these low wage workers aren't even getting benefits anyways. There's no, productivity definitely outweighs on that sort of link. Talk about link magnitude. They drop relative decline means that answers the aging crisis, because if everyone is going through aging crisis, then the U.S. In comparison to China and Russia is net zero, which means that if it's global, that's a reason for why it's an affirmative case, because we can increase relative to other countries. They say it is global, which means that was already answered. Those are their only answers, which means that pro-lift automatically has to outweigh minimum wage counterplan. They have dropped that. This literally does not have a link. You cannot buy their bullshit in the 2NR when they literally do not have a warranted link in the text of their card. It is about a right to earn a living, not a living wage, or giving money from the government or businesses giving money to their employers. Obviously, this does not matter. This does not matter. Their only answer was that lawyers would probably misinterpret it, maybe, but this doesn't matter. This is all extrapolation by them, which is not evidence. It should obviously, and it was also new in the 2NR. Lawyers who are interpreting these laws have been studying them for a while. They know the ins and outs of it. They're very smart. They're not going to misinterpret things. And plus, that is a new and unwarranted argument. Plus, they say that the plan is indexed, but no, you can't index past the $25 that you have mandated in your counterplan tax, which means that there is basically every reason why, which means that there is basically, you can't index because you mentioned that $25 is going to be the minimum for which you set the minimum wage level at, which means that it's not going to be able to solve productivity because it won't break monopoly markets, and the Henwood card isn't going to make it so that lower cost of living areas are going to be able to get the benefits from indexing into the cost of living. That also, basically, like, no, advantage counterplan also apply. Indexing to the cost of living doesn't solve anything. Even if it does, the case definitely solves itself, but you know that the NIT has, even a small chance of not solving the case, which means that proliferation has to outweigh. There's no net benefit to this, which means that you obviously cannot vote on it. Basically, look, there is an advantage. It has a nuclear prolift DA that is conceded, and there is a DA with no link, no warrant, and no external, which means that none of the counterplans matter, even if they solve 99% of the case.
Good debate.
Good debate.